Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely. Pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 207 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And before we get to this week's guest, Lzzy Hale from Halestorm, I want to remind you about everything you can find online at mistresscarrie.com. You can find every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast and every episode of my weekly video show, Cocktails in the War Room. You can check out the concert and events calendar filled with everything coming through New England. You can read my blog, get the links to all of my socials, and you can shop in the online Mistress Carrie store. With Father's Day coming up, there's new My Dad Says Mistress Carrie Rocks baby onesies and matching 3/4 sleeve jerseys just for Dad. Find all that and more at mistresscarrie.com. My guest this week, Lzzy Hale from Halestorm, is everywhere. She collaborated with Avatar, jumped on stage with Disturbed, and is now on the road as the lead singer of Skid Row, all while preparing to take Halestorm out on the road with I Prevail this summer and finishing up a new Halestorm album. Lzzy and I talked about legendary women in rock, what it's like to sing for one of her favorite bands of all time, Skid Row, and I did my very best to get all of the details on the upcoming new Halestorm album. Lzzy is featured on episode 100 of the Mistress Carrie podcast and also on a bonus episode with Amy Lee from Evanescence. I absolutely love having her on the show, and she is welcome back anytime. So allow me to reintroduce you to Lzzy Hale from Halestorm. Oh, hell, there she is, Lzzy Hale.
You thought you were rid of me.
Never. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see your face. And again, your hair is vibrant as ever.
Thank you.
My favorite color in the world. So
it's good to see you. I have had a theory about certain members of the rock world. Dave Grohl, Corey Taylor. I call them the biggest whores in rock and roll because they're constantly doing 35 things. You have now entered biggest whore of rock and rolldom.
Can I please put that on my resume? That is awesome. And yet, well, it's like, I got some, it takes one of the bitches to know what that shit's about. So yeah, it's been whoring myself out since 1997. No, it's crazy, man. I love saying yes to adventure. And regardless of whether I know what the hell I'm doing or not, it's become kind of my MO for life at this point. And I'm so grateful for everybody for asking me to be on their projects or to, ask me to be involved in their life. For even just like yourself. I mean, my goodness, we've known each other for many, many years. And for some reason, again, you're not sick of me and still want to take the time to chat with me and listen to me ramble. So it's not lost on me how incredibly important that is, not only to like our climb as Halestorm, but just personally. I mean, I love this so much.
You never know you're from Pennsylvania until you say ask. Then I can
Oh my
tell.
gosh. I know. Okay. Real funny. So this just happened. I shouldn't say just happened. It happens all the time, specifically with the asking or anything A related. It will come out in the songs to the point that there was I forget which one it was. It was maybe it was the song Vicious. I know there was one, that was one, but there's been multiple songs where like the producer will be like, so can you just kind of pretend to have an English accent just for that line so we get rid of the, because the PA accent is not the most, it's not like French and Italian and, even German
Boston
is at least interesting. Boston is interesting. It's like PA is just like, all right, it's like, here we go down to Aldo's again, that whole thing. But so yeah, it's that you can take the girl out of PA, but man, you can't get rid of the PA. You can't get it out of me. I haven't been able to yet.
I was talking to somebody recently and they were like, you're from Boston? You don't sound like it. And I was like, make me angry and get me drunk and you'll know.
Yeah, and there you go.
It comes right out.
It's so true. I love
the
that.
biggest horror thing I'm talking about is because you're kind of everywhere, okay?
Yes.
You're collaborating with everyone. You're popping up on stage with everyone. So I kind of have to go through all of the whoredom right now.
List my whoredom, Mistress Carrie.
You just slipped into Ann Wilson's shoes on stage with Disturbed.
Yes.
Do you see the Wilson sisters kind of in the Mount Rushmore of women in rock the way that I do?
Oh, absolutely. And specifically for my career. So Anne, so my mother, once I got into, so I grew up, this will all be connected, I promise, but I grew up listening to Skid Row, Cinderella, Black Sabbath, Alice Cooper, Dio, my ABCs of rock and roll. And, so my mother, being the jealous woman that she is like, well, if you're going to be listening to your dad's music, you need to know that girls can do this too. So she went out and got me a live album, On the Road Home by Heart, that they did in the 90s. It was like the only thing she could find at the record store at the time. And I listened to this album, and Anne's live version of Crazy on You on that album, it opened a door for me that seems obvious, but it was so mind-blowing. It was, oh my God, girls can sing that way too. And it made that bridge to my dream just a little more possible, just a little shorter. And I finally got to tell that to Anne a couple of years ago. We had a mutual interview together and I got to say it. And it's so funny because she's like, that album? She's like, we didn't even care about that album. We were just doing it to appease the label, all this stuff. And I'm like, that was monumental in my dream, my growth. I wanted to be you. I sang those songs every time I could. I that was my building block for so to be able to, again, full circle, come in. And not only am I've known David for years, David Draymond, and I'm like, David, thank you so much for helping bring Anne back into the mainstream, because I know she really wanted that. And oh my God, you're asking me to fill her shoes? Are you kidding me? Like, it's just kind of like, there's a difference between knowing you are capable of being in great situations and then those situations actually happening and coming to reality. So this is one of those moments. And I got to do that 3 times at Knotfest this year with David and the boys. And what a beautiful moment. And just, again, that full circle of like, if you told my 13 to 15-year-old self that, like back then, it would have blown her little mind. She'd be like, no way, that's never going to happen. So
well, I bet if you told Disturbed or Ann Wilson that collectively they would have a #1 rock song a few years ago, they'd be like, what are you talking about?
You kidding me? I know. That's the beauty of music, and it really has no time, no expiration, no limit to when and where people are inspired by it, or it touches somebody, or it comes out. And because we're all just lifers, man, so are you. It's like we're in this for the right reasons, and we don't even really know why. Yeah. We just know we got to do it. We got to climb Mount Everest and see what's at the top, So.
Speaking of collaborating, you work with Sophie Lloyd, you work with Avatar. It's like you are everywhere.
Oh, yeah. And anything that gets me excited or moves me, I like to be a part of, really for selfish reasons more than anything else. I always talk about this. There's two things about the music business that no one wants to tell you. Number one, there are no rules. there's no real, like, there's no borders. Everything is blurry. If it's good, it's good. If it sucks, it sucks. That's what it is. Number two, nobody actually knows what the hell they're doing. It doesn't matter their resume, their credits, what they think that they've done. They go to into every situation just like me. Hey, I can fly or I could fall, but at least I'm brave enough to jump off the cliff. So in a lot of those situations, it's like it comes by, again, very like organically, where it's like, okay, I just met this wonderful young woman from the UK and I love her a lot. I start reposting some of her stuff, and she's done some covers of some songs that we have. Oh, hey, she's writing a record. And then she ends up contacting me like, hey, could you write a song to this track? Cool. So I write a song for her track, and then it's out there. Same thing with the Skid Row boys. It's like, you know, and forgive me if I'm saying this again, because everything gets a little blurry when I do these interviews. But, you know, Rachel and I have known each other for a long time. And same thing with Snake. We were at a mutual friend's birthday party, and he just kind of says, well, hey, would you ever consider fronting our band? You know, and I'm like, well, yeah, dude, of course, just let me know. 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, were you serious about that? This is happening. Can you do it? And then it all kind of falls into place. So it's more about, am I being observant, and am open to the possibilities, and you're trying to just kind of you're out there in space and you're trying to catch comets as they go by. Oh, shiny thing. What about that? Let's see what happens. Avatar gave me this amazing outlet, because I got on the phone with them, like, here's the song. This is what it talks about. This is what we're bringing to it. So I got to show off where I lean more metal. Whereas when I was doing my collaboration with Lindsey Sterling, that was leaning more on the pop side and dance EDM with violin. And so it's just, everything is all connected in that one thing where, like, we all just want to do what we love every single day and collaborate with people that get us excited. Get in the sandbox and play. Hey, I got a pony, you got a rocket. Let's try to get it to space. You know, it's like, let's go. Bring your Lego set. Woo, you know.
Well, you and I grew up listening to the same music. And I remember, you know, when Skid Row first hit, being in the crowd when they were on tour with Bon Jovi, you know, as the opening act, and listening to that album and screaming and trying to, you know, see if I could get one of the band members to look at me or throw me a guitar pick. They never called me to ask me to sing for them, Lzzy. Are you looking at the phone going, is this call really happening right now?
Man, I'm telling you, like, we didn't realize and I didn't even really realize when I said yes, how much bigger of a moment we were making, not just for my inner child, not just for them and me being this kind of like little sister, kind of getting up there. And now I have the challenge of fronting one of my favorite bands of all time for a couple shows. And didn't realize how beautiful that was until I start hearing from people that I haven't heard from in like 15 years, that like when we were listening to that stuff when I was growing up, I'm like, oh my God, I'm bringing my daughter. Everyone's coming out. Everyone is so incredibly supportive. I haven't heard one negative comment about the team up. It's really wonderful to just be in the business of smiles and be able to kind of bring this type of moment to everyone. Now, at the same time, there is a little bit of a beautiful panic that comes with that, because now everyone's like, this is going to be amazing. So I'm like, I better be great. So I got to tell you, my mornings are like this. I wake up, I have my coffee, I have my Skid Row set lists out in front of my stationary bike, and I put in the 60-minute set, the 75-minute set, and I am singing and practicing all of the, not just how to sing and how to get up there with my friends and sing the song, but the inflections, the timing, the length of the notes, the moments that made these songs what they are, because I want to honor that. This isn't just me covering Skid Row, and this isn't just me getting up to sing a couple songs and being like, yay, I love these guys. This is me. I have a responsibility to bring that to the fans and to do that for these boys who have been so amazing to me. So it's going to be a great time. And I am predicting the future, whereas like, well, if I'm spending all this time learning all of your songs front to back, most likely it's not going to really stop at 4 shows. There's going to be a time where I'm going to get a call where it's like, hey, you want to go out to Jersey and do it? Absolutely. Do you want to go here? So it's going to be, yeah. It's the beginning of a fun chapter between the two bands.
Something else struck me, and maybe it's because of the conversation I had with Ash Costello recently, and I wanted to bring it up with you because Ash and I kind of got into the weeds about talking about mental health. And the guys in Papa Roach have been amazing. The guys in Shinedown have been amazing. But this generation of women in rock, there's also a lot of female rock fans. And when you guys start talking about things specific to women, it opens up another door. The idea that the 80s music that was so known for being misogynistic and the videos and all of that stuff. If you had told you and I in the 80s that a girl could end up singing for Skid Row, right? There's something poetic about showing how far rock has come for women, that the expectation is not that you're going to go up and like be the hot chick in the new video. That you're going to take the mic and sing for Skid Row, where not that long ago, the 80s and the world wouldn't have looked at it that way.
Absolutely. And isn't it ironic? Because even in that time in the 80s, it was misogynistic, yet they were the ones wearing the lipstick and the spandex. So, it is a little bit of poetic justice. And I'm glad you brought that up because really nobody has yet in these conversations. So that's a very new and such a beautiful thing to bring to light. There is women that are into rock music. There's a regality that comes with it for those of us that have made it past the first gate, because we weren't encouraged, to be involved in it. If anything, I had interventions every day after class in school being like, this is not the right path to go down. No, this isn't a good idea. Hey, girls aren't really a thing in rock and roll. Oh, we want it, those kind of things. And so to push through and to realize that maybe the front door isn't open to this house, but there's a cracked window somewhere so we can still get in. There's a regality that comes with that, because it's not the strength. So we think of rock music and we think of the dude strength and the masculinity of the whips and chains and the leather and all that. But you have to almost think about it, in the metaphor of even a flower. Let's say a freaking dandelion, right, has the strength to grow through the cracks of the concrete in a parking lot at the Flying J on the side of a highway and still survive. So that is the regality and the beauty and the strength of women in this business. And we've always been here. We've just never been, there have been a lot of gatekeepers in the way. And so I talk a lot about, this with Ash and also with Amy Lee, about how I think that those of us that have made it past a couple levels of, hey, we've proven ourselves and we continue to do so, our responsibility is to keep passing that torch and keep those gates open for these women, because as now it's just more visible because of the work that we all have done, that the women who have come before me, that Ann Wilson, I've had talks with Pat Benatar about having to sit in a radio guy's lap in order to get her record played. Now, I've had to I've had to compromise in a lot of different ways in my life, but I've never had to do that to get my record played. So thank you, Miss Benatar, for having to go through that and survive and say, I'll never say die, because if her journey, I got to say the same thing to Joan Jett, whereas if their journey was, well, it got too hard and women don't have a place here, so I gave up, that might have been my story too. So, again, there's always a way in it. It's just a little bit, we're all like old war buddies. We all have a very unique experience in this music. But what we have to remember is that we didn't get into this music because we were wanted in the music business. We didn't get into this music because we were welcome or it was encouraged for us to play. We got into it because there was a primal need to do so. And if anything knows, and if there is a, if we're going to compare Mars and Venus, the women are the ones that have more to rage about than the boys, given our history. This is just facts, people. I'm not saying it's better or worse to be a man or woman. I'm saying, although, whatever, I have arguments there too. But the idea of how much we've had to endure, even just the physical pain of having our period every day since we were 11, every month since we were 11.
I read something that says it's 10 years of our lives. 10 whole years
are gone because of that, and it's the idea that it's the mental strength. We are complicated beings. We think about things in a deeper way. We just do. And so this rock music, metal music, things that address those subjects, this is our genre. We rule here. But because it's a little scary to have somebody a little like this doing this, there were always kind of those, either there was ego involved, misogyny, there was always that, I don't know, this is not going to, or women have their place in pop music, in a lighter fare. If anything, we are absolutely not the weaker sex. We have proven that. And so it's just so beautiful. Literally, we did all these festivals overseas last summer. And I turned to some of my peers and like, oh, hey, so-and-so is playing on the stage at noon. We got to go see her. Ash is playing over here. Amy's headlining this stage. Everybody, all of these young women are coming up, and all of, there's so many of us where just a few short years ago, I remember being the only girl backstage, being the only girl on the bill, and it being that. So
being the only one on the radio.
The only one on the radio. Exactly. And so it's just wonderful to see everybody just kind of rise and come out of the woodwork and be like, always been here.
Yeah.
Now we get to shine.
The window got unlocked and cracked by somebody that we crawled
Hell
through.
Yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah.
I
we
told
called it,
Ash.
we're trashing the place.
Yeah. I told Ash, it would be really cool, and we got to try. It's a logistical nightmare, but to get me, you, Amy, Ash, and do
awesome.
like a women's summit, and to sit down together to talk about this stuff.
Please,
I would.
Let's
love
make that happen.
To,
I would
yeah,
love that.
I would love
Let's
that.
make that
too.
happen. I am all for it. And I've done. I've never done it with Ash, but I've done in a small way a couple of those things with Amy before, and I know she's always down.
I had you guys on the show together when you guys were touring together.
Things like
yeah,
that come to light. So I would love that. I would love that.
Well, this summer you guys are touring with I Prevail.
Woo.
I'm going to see you a couple times this summer. You're going to be at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion July 15th and at the Leader Bank Pavilion in Boston on July 16th. This is a big tour.
It really is. And it's actually so much, goes a little, not a little, a lot deeper than how we've done other tours before. So small surprise breaker here. The boys in I Prevail and me and my guys in Halestorm have gotten together in the studio, and we've written a song together, everybody collaborating, and we are going to be performing that together as an ode to our collective fan base, where basically we were talking a lot about, and this isn't subject matter for the song, but we were talking a lot about the analogy of we're all in the same circus together. And like, as in, this is all of our shows. It's not just we're saddling up our wagon against a band, we're playing, here's your set, here's my set. We really wanted to create this haven, this sanctuary for our collective fan base, be like, hey, he's my buddy too. We come from different walks of life, but here's how we come together. Really showcase that togetherness, especially considering, we all have this different flavor and these different influences. And so it's a really beautiful, powerful song that we're going to be able to just kind of like, hey, here's something special for the tour. So we're very much looking forward to being out with each other. And those guys inspire me to no end. Every time I hear their songs on the radio, I'm like, how did they do that? I want to drop like that, that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to being inspired every night. And hanging out with all those boys.
Is that song going to get released, or is it just an exclusive live thing at the shows?
We're hoping to. I think we're just going to kind of see what happens. We're in a little bit of a purgatory with that, because we're getting it finished up at the moment. As far as just like, mixing and everything, and then we're going to be like, well, should we? Shouldn't we? I'm always of the thinking we should, but then there's always per our talk, there's always a couple people that are like, should we though? So it's going to be, we have yet to be at that conversation. So, but I'm hoping to. So you keep your ears peeled for that. I'm going to fight for it.
Before I let you go, for anybody that can't see you right now, it looks like you're in like a tool shop in a mechanic's garage, but it's Halestorm HQ right now.
It is. This is my collection of things for whatever, however many. We've been a band since 97, and we've been the same 4 members for 20 years. So it's we got a lot of stuff. But like, for instance, like this keyboard, the Fender Rhodes here, is the first instrument my parents ever bought for me. They got it at a flea market in like 1996, the year before we started the band. And we, I've had it ever since. It sounds like a rain stick because, when you toss it on its side, because it's got all the picks and everything in it, and the, low E doesn't work very well. But like, yeah, this is our place. And something that we like, that we do as Halestorm is that before the production rehearsal with the lights and the crew and everything, we get together for like 2 weeks before the tour, and we get together right here with our shitty PA system and plug in and jam and play through our songs, just like we were in our parents' basement back in the day. And it's very important for us to kind of keep that. So yeah, this is the Hale hole, as we call it. For the kids back home, that is a Spinal Tap reference. And if you haven't watched Spinal Tap yet, you don't really know what the music business is all about. So it's a...
and bringing that up on the 40th anniversary year, the original, with a new sequel in production.
That is amazing. I didn't even realize that, and that's how the stars align, everybody. Woo!
I guess Lars Ulrich and Shad Smith are going to be in it, and I'm like, well, obviously someone spontaneously combusting. Spinal Tap is going through more drummers.
I cannot wait to see it. The Spinal Tap has become one of those things that we throw on the TV on the bus like every 6 years or so, just to see how much more real it is. Small story for you. I got to talk with Keith Olsen, the producer, right before he passed. He was recording with Ozzy Osbourne back in the day, and Ozzy's being Ozzy and wouldn't sit still. So Keith put him in a room and made him watch Spinal Tap so that Keith could go and get some work done. And apparently Ozzy came back and didn't realize it was a mockumentary and was like, "Oh my God, is that really what we're like? Because that's exactly what goes on." And he's like, "Oh no, it's actually a spoof, Ozzy. But yes, it's actually very true to how things actually go down for a touring rock band." So yeah, it's in the top 10 in Halestorm movies to watch.
You've made it in rock and roll when you're on the same billboard as a puppet show. You just know.
Oh,
At that point, you just know.
That's when you know you've made it. That's when you know you've made it. Yeah.
So because you're going out on the road, does that mean the record's done?
Kind of. It's never really done until we run out of the budget, really. Because if you ask me to keep going, I will. The sickness of my life is I literally wake up every day and I sit down and I try to pick something out of the air, or I'm working on something. So there are a ton of songs. I am in such a beautiful spot in my life where this album is really me peeling back the onion of myself personally, of us as Halestorm. It has so much teeth, and there's so much, but with so much intimacy as well. And I'm very excited for everybody to see this snapshot of our life. And I have a few, Carrie. I've only a few really good fucks to give left in my back pocket. In the grand scheme of things, I am doing everything on a personal level. I'm doing it for me. You can maniacally love me or maniacally hate me. None of that really matters. If I was on an island somewhere and nobody was there at all to give me feedback or judge me for anything that I'm doing, I would still be very content in what I'm doing right now in my life. And that's the beauty of music. And in a lot of ways, our fan base and people like you have allowed me to be my truest self. And in the great words of Rob Halford, if you live an honest life, you are free. And so, I don't know. I think that I'm trying to live my life in that way, and it's really bleeding through in the new music. So I can't wait for everyone to hear that.
I'm going to have to give you some of these for the Hale hole that I keep in MCHQ. Maybe I could let you borrow some of the fucks that I have to give. You want some of my fucks, Lzzy? You can have some of my fucks.
I would love some of your fucks. Oh my God, that's amazing. You just blew my mind.
So what's really funny is that I talked to Chris Daughtry one day and he said that and I go, oh yeah? He had the same fucks in his room and we're both sitting there like, we have way too many fucks to give right now.
Yeah. You should have like a contest like they do with like how many jelly beans are in a jar. Like how many fucks do you think Mistress Carrie really has in that jar?
In the jar of fucks. Yeah, exactly. When I see you this summer, I will bring you some of my fucks.
Oh, you know what? That's true love right there.
It
you
is.
know that. When we can trade fucks with each other.
That's right.
I love that.
It was so good to see you. You're so busy being one of the biggest whores in rock and roll.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to hear your new music, to see you collaborating with all these different artists. And obviously, I can't wait to see you this summer.
Oh, I can't wait to see you too.
And I'm going to put that Chick Summit together.
Oh, please do. Dude, I am serious about that.
I am
let
too.
Me know and I'll be there with bells on.
Okay.
I'm just as serious as doing the shows for Skid Row. Like, let's make it happen.
All right.
So.
All right. We're going to do it. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you, sweetie.
There she is, the one and only Lzzy Hale from Halestorm. You can see them on tour with I Prevail at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion in Guilford, New Hampshire on July 15th and the Leader Bank Pavilion in Boston, Massachusetts on July 16th. Click the links in the show notes of this episode to get your tickets. While you're there, you'll also find the link to this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that features all of my guest music and all the songs and artists that we referenced in the interview. You'll also find the link to Lizzy's appearance on episode 100 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, all the Halestorm links, all of Lizzy's links, and all the Mistress Carrie links too. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday, plus every weekday you get the Sit Rep. The Situation Report brings you all of your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates in around 5 minutes. And you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode, like we did yesterday with Barry Kirch from Shinedown. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern on my official Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter for my weekly video show, Cocktails in the War Room. And of course, you can always find me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at mistresscarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.